Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2012 Budget Committee of October 12th. I don't have any regrets. Do I have any declarations of pecuniary interest from members of the committee? I see none. Today we have two discussion items. The first is the 2012 budget direction, and the second is the Service Oakville Phase 2. Before I proceed any further, any member of the public wishing to speak further regarding an issue on the 2012 Budget Committee agenda may appear before Council at its meeting on October 17th, 2011 at 7 p.m. when the recommendations from this meeting will go forward for final consideration. If you wish to speak as a delegation, please sign the sheet located at the back of the room or notify the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the Council meeting. Any PowerPoint presentations must also be forwarded to the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the meeting. We have a lead-in presentation from Nancy Sully regarding the budget directions document. We also have one delegation who wishes to speak, and so I'm going to go to our staff to provide the lead-in presentation, and then we'll go to our delegation. Nancy, if you wish to carry on, please go ahead.
Good morning. The meeting this morning is to, At the meeting on September 30th, we provided an update of where the budget was at this year, as well as gave you some service level templates and some information on our programs. The meeting today is scheduled for us to receive feedback from you on where you would like us to focus to find the reductions required to bring the budget in line with the guidelines approved this year. And really I leave it open to you.
Okay. Are there any questions of our staff before we go to our delegation? Okay, I have Mr. Alex Murphy who wishes to provide a presentation. I'm not sure if you've got any material to hand out. Looks like you've got a stack of papers. Are those for us? We'll come and get them from you.
Thanks.
Welcome. You have up to 10 minutes, and we look forward to your information.
Okay, well, it won't be very long. I represent CMGRA, which is the Chartwell Maple Grove Residents Association, and we've gone over the budget numbers internally, and we've met with members of the staff of the city, and we have some conclusions. Conclusions number one is I've never had such a difficult time understanding financial results. Now I have extensive experience, and I'm not going to list them all. You can read about that. So have some of our committee. But basically, the Oakville taxpayers are unable to understand what's going on for two key reasons. There are two accounting systems. One is the cash-related system, and it's not a cash system because there are some adjustments to it, which apparently Council uses to set tax rates. This is not audited nor published. And one that is mandated for all the Canadian municipalities, which is audited and published. There's no easy way to determine the full cost, including capital amortization, of each major program in each expense category. So what we decided to do was to use the audited and published numbers in the city's annual report. These numbers normally appear in June, which is 6 months after the year end. Just as a matter of interest, required reporting in the private sector is 3 months. So over the period 2006 to 2010, we have Oakville tax trends. Households and population have grown 10.4% and 9% respectively. Taxes levied by the school boards have grown roughly in relation to population 10%. Taxes for the region have grown modestly 16.1%. Taxes levied for the town itself have grown 38.5%. Taxes per capita levied for the town itself have grown 26.9%. Taxes per capita in Oakville are the second highest amongst cities of 100,000 or over in Ontario, and it's the 11th highest out of 94 in Ontario. That's from the municipal comparable study. The Oakville expense trends, now there has been an accounting change, but nevertheless, from 2006 to 2008 under the old municipal rules, accounting rules, the town expenses increased 18.6%. 2008 to 2010, gross operating expenses increased 13.6% to a total of 32.2%. From 2006 to 2010, salaries and benefits have increased 36.9%. that change to the accounting system had no effect on the salaries and expense sector. Conclusions of our group are that our actual expenses, the actual town expenses have had excessive growth during this past 5 years of minimal economic growth. The taxes per capita are much higher than other comparable cities and towns in Ontario. So our recommendations are that Oakville expenses only, this is operating and capital, should be managed so the taxes, it's for Oakville itself, for its own expenses, that's operating and amortized capital, do not increase on an annual basis more than the sum of inflation and population growth, and total taxes per capita are reduced to an average of the Ontario cities and towns of population over 100,000. And on the last page, I've summarized all those numbers. So that's all I have to say.
Are there any questions? I have one question for you. We are providing direction to our staff to look at particular program areas today. Are there any particular program areas you think we should be looking at to meet your objectives?
We do have some specific areas, but I think we wanted to look at the total and the focus and the policy that you would have going forward, as opposed to particular items. There are particular items that seemed a little bit strange to us, like transit, but we didn't want to get into the specifics. We just wanted, it's your job to sort out where the money goes, but the overall growth seemed to be excessive to us.
Okay, so you've named transit as one program area that you think would be a
seems
good target.
That seems to be higher than it should be, but I really don't know enough about transit to say that that's warranted or not. But the overall growth number, which is this, and these are the published audited numbers, and I've seen the net cash numbers, which are almost the same. So that's the focus that we've taken.
Thank you very much for your information.
Thanks.
Okay, members of committee, you have that information. Are there any other members of the public in the audience today who wish to speak? Okay. Then I'll restrict it to table. And members of committee, I have circulated to you a draft motion for your consideration as a starting point. It's been brought to my attention that perhaps with respect to item 1B that we add an alternative delivery models as a minor change to the way in which it's worded. So as a starting point, I'll leave that to members of the committee to consider. Are there any other questions, comments? Would anybody like to provide me a motion? Councillor Elgar.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. At the last meeting, we talked about overtime, and I see on my desk this morning, I've got all kinds of stuff on overtime. Can staff give me a quick summary of the hot spots where we should be looking, or if we should be looking? Because I haven't had time to read any of this.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The overtime that I handed out this morning provides any overtime accumulated in 2010 over $5,000. So we said if an average employee earned $50,000, 10% would be the $5,000. Overtime typically is in our operations department. So in many cases, we have to backfill in case of recreation, fire, transit. If someone is off sick and it's for a facility or to drive a bus, we have to backfill. There is a fair bit of overtime in our transit operations. Do have to caution that there are some savings in personnel costs that offset that. So if an employee's off, in many cases they're not being paid. So it's actually only the half time that would be the differential there. So while this is giving you the gross dollars, there is a savings in the full-time operating. Fire has probably the second highest amount of overtime, followed by our operations departments such as roads and works for winter control.
Anybody else? Councillor Demoff?
I had a question about the sponsorship, which again we just got this morning. Is there any, this is what was committed for 2011, but is there anything that's being worked on right now that's not included in this, or is...
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we continue to look at other opportunities. One of the ones that we just were successful with was in acquiring Scotiabank as a sponsor up at 16 Mile, and I believe that's on your list. So as opportunities come up, we certainly do include them. We are putting together a package for sponsorship opportunities at QE Park once we have that facility open as well. And so staff are constantly looking for other opportunities, yes.
Thank you.
Any further? Mayor? Go ahead. Are you moving the suggested material?
You had a motion and you asked if anyone would give you that motion.
Okay, thank you very much, including the alternative delivery models.
I don't understand that.
Oh, where it reads 1B, ensuring recreation and culture cost recovery is maximized through the use of sponsorship funding, I've written in or added in and alternative delivery models. And Councillor Demoff would like to speak to that.
The thinking, and if you want to change the wording on that, was models like we used with the Oakville Soccer Club and the Oakville Gymnastics Club, where we went in partnerships with groups to offset our costs on the facilities.
So that's been moved. Are there any other questions, comments, Councillor Elgar?
Yeah, thank you. The gentleman this morning that just presented to us, what I'm wondering is if staff, not today, but in the future, could respond to the highlights so that there's a clear understanding of where why the percentages have gone up and the makeup, because there's lots of puts and takes between the town and the region also. And I would appreciate getting all the facts on this so that everybody's clear on it. So if that would be staff direction, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Demoff?
Can this motion just be read so that people who are here who don't know what we're talking about know what's included?
Of course. The motion reads that during the preparation of the 2012 budget, staff be requested to continue to review all town programs to identify potential reductions, and that staff also address A, optimizing the fit between transit resources and demand, B, ensuring recreation and culture cost recovery is maximized, including through the use of sponsorship funding and alternative delivery models, C, opportunities for minimizing the impact of the operating costs of QE Park Community Cultural and Community Center, including through working with user groups, D, administrative savings in office operations such as clerks and information systems and solutions, IS&S, E, opportunities to increase fees and revenues, and F, other opportunities identified by the Budget Committee. 2, that where opportunities to increase revenues or reduce expenses are not available for revenue-based programs, and where the cost recovery ratio warrants it, the program be considered for cancellation or major changes. 3, that staff be requested to review programs where enhancements have been identified and report back on whether the desired outcomes have been achieved. Are we ready for a vote? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, members of the committee. Item number 2 is the Service Oakville Phase 2. Mr. Green or Ms. Sully, do either of you have comments with respect to this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As members of the committee will recall, we had a report that appeared on the last cycle of Administration and Finance that spoke to the issue of the Service Oakville, which is a multi-year project. There were funds that have been identified for implementing the next phase in the 2012 budget. The request before you today is pre-approval of some of those funds so that we can award a contract which looks at the software that is necessary to move into that phase. And so not to delay the implementation of the final phase of Service Oakville, we are recommending that a portion of the budget for 2012 be pre-approved, which is mainly geared towards the acquisition of software.
Are there any questions of our staff? Any members of the public here today on this item? No. Could I have a motion? Mayor Burton? Are you moving the staff recommendation, I presume? Okay. It has been moved. Any questions, comments? Then all those in favor? That is carried. And that deals with item 2. There are no confidential discussion items. Is there any other business anybody would like to bring forward? All right, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you when the materials are put together for us.